What up? What up? Welcome back to the Sneaker History Podcast. We're going to roll a two-man show tonight. Me and Mike Guillory to talk some kicks. We're going to get into some of this crazy Virgil Abloh stuff. I don't even know if this is a good idea or not. But what's good, Mike? How you been, man?
Yo, I'm good, man. I'm just I'll be even happier if the Suns can pull off this 3-0 beatdown on the Clippers. But that's a whole different story.
Yeah, I'm on the other side of that. I'm a certified CP3 hater.
Yeah, I forgot.
So, I love Devin Booker though, man. That kid is
good, man.
Like personality and everything. Like I'm just excited about him being like seriously like the face of the NBA in the next few years.
Oh yeah, dude.
So
he's gonna be something, bro.
Yeah, but what are you rocking today? What are you copping lately?
Shoot, not rocking too much. We were talking earlier. I didn't leave the house. I went to the gym. So, to good old trustees, the JJ4s brought these bad boys to the gym for a little while. Coppin. I am just very happy. I don't really tell Nike thank you for anything too much, so I will give them one. I appreciate them for making put in a draw and a release date on the South Beach LeBron 8s because resale prices dropped more than half. So they're like $250 now on resale already. And that's before they've come out. So hopefully I can get a pair of South Beaches. That's literally another Grail and LeBron collection to go with the Miami Knights.
Yep, definitely. I mean, I'm honestly like surprised they didn't just produce so many of those just because who's not going to want that shoe? If you were into sneakers at all at that time, actually, you didn't even have to be into sneakers at that time to like see that shoe and want it. The Miami Knights one is a little bit different. You had to be a fan to know about that shoe comparatively to the South Beaches. The South Beaches were like, they were everywhere.
They were a moment in time, man.
Yeah, and they're just so dope too. I mean, I don't know that I would wear them very frequently just because it's not, I don't know. There's something about it where I'm just like, it's probably not going to put that shoe on, but I would love to have a pair. And who knows, maybe I would wear it more often if I did, but I don't know. The LeBron 8 to me is still so just comfortable as a casual shoe that, all that cushioning, you're just like, this is like riding in a Cadillac or something.
100%. It's like clouds. I'm like, oh man, this basketball shoe should be clunky, but I'm just going about my way.
Yep. So I didn't actually leave the house, but the shoe that's by the front door right now, I actually just posted on my Instagram. I wore it a couple weeks back and talked about it on the podcast. Was the Answer 4, like the steel and flat gray, some sort of red. It's kind of like it's almost like an infrared colorway, right? And it's just like one of my favorites. I don't really get into, especially with the Answer 4. I don't like colorways that aren't original.
Yeah.
Like with not even like I'm not like a big fan of even some of the Iverson Classics and some of the PEs that have been out. I mean, obviously I'd love to have the Kobe PE. I've got a bunch of the other, black and whites, white and black, white and red, that kind of stuff. I've got the, the original like Navy stuff that was, kind of Georgetown inspired. But that particular shoe dropped in like 2013. I'll throw a picture up for people that are watching on YouTube. But I'm surprised that it aged so well because the shoes that are in that era were not all that great, in my opinion, in terms of quality. Like the new Answer 4s are awesome. But that's what I've been rocking. As far as copping, man, I'm really hoping, I mean, by the time this episode comes out, I will have either done it or not, but I'm really hoping that I can get a pair of these Magnus Walker Dunks. So
man.
Crossing my fingers. I don't have it in reach. Maybe I do.
It's such a good shoe.
For the fans here that are watching on YouTube, this is his car. It sits on my desk. So
you deserve it, man.
That's exactly why I want it. But yeah.
So you know that
I'm a big Porsche fan.
You know that the upper fades away to like the gold, to whatever the original color of the car is underneath. Like it's crazy, man. They a lot of detail. I'm hoping it sits, man. I hope in the sense of sitting now, because it's a dunk high. So fingers crossed, man. I hope you can get him. Yeah.
It's actually crazy. I met him years ago at a Porsche event in Monterey at Laguna Seca Raceway, and actually got pictures of him holding. I can't remember if he's holding my nephew or like talking to my nephew or something. But yeah, he's such a nice dude. So not only do I just love the shoe and love his whole story, he's just a good dude, somebody I'd want to support and actually buy the shoe anyway. So, but yeah, that's it for Rockin' and Coppin'. But we don't have any reviews. If you are listening to the podcast and haven't left us a review, head over to iTunes or Amazon, Audible. I mean, there's many places where you can leave us a review. It would be super helpful if you could do that, because it's really the only way that we can kind of grow the podcast and continue to get to a bigger audience, and hopefully eventually have this podcast, kind of kick back some goodies for us in the long run. But we'll get there. We'll be here either way, unfortunately or fortunately. I don't know how I should say that, but
depends on how much you like us.
Yeah, exactly. But for today's show, we wanted to talk about Virgil Abloh. Today, as we're recording this, is Thursday, and the Louis Vuitton Air Force Ones were unveiled, and I just don't even know what to say. I have so many random thoughts about it, but at the same time, I just don't want to talk about it at all or acknowledge it, because first and foremost, it looks like a straight ripoff of the bootlegs that Dapper Dan used to make in the 80s and 90s. And I feel like that's one, I just feel like there shouldn't be that. Like I'm not a person that's going to go buy a Louis Vuitton any shoe collaboration.
Same.
Especially in that, like, just take the materials and the colorways from one and throw it on the other. I like the idea of like the Kanye Louis Vuitton collabs, because they were interesting and unique and different, and weren't just like a cut and paste. And actually, I like some of the Virgil, Louis Vuitton shoes, even though they're very like
pure ripoffs. So, I mean,
they're very like sneaker oriented, right? It's like you can see all the pieces that he took from various 80s basketball shoes. But I also love 80s basketball shoes, so I think that's why.
Yeah.
I'm not an Air Force One fan. And to see this and to think of like how, somebody like Dapper Dan has kind of been, up until the last, I would say 10 years, kind of been like shunned and pushed out of this stuff, where Virgil is basically doing exactly what this guy did, 20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, whatever it is now, which is just super unfortunate.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think about it? I mean,
I put a post up earlier because as soon as I saw it, it brought me back to middle school, high school. I was in, I guess, middle school and high school from 2000 to 2007, 2000, whatever. And I was like, this is what I saw, like kids rocking, like I say, the bootlegs. They would take all whites. They would go to whoever, I don't know where they got them from. I just remember seeing a lot of like the athletes would have them, like the all whites with the tan LV stitched on the toe box and the swoosh. And it was, cool. It was like, oh, you got this. It's like no one thought about that really back then, but we all knew it wasn't in the store. It was something, no one said anything because no one cared that much. It wasn't like, oh, those are fake. But to me, I'm like, they were, I guess now, if you did that now or last week, you were looked down upon because, oh, why'd you take this material and make this fake collaboration? But he did the exact same thing. Literally, a couple of placements of the materials are different, but he did the exact same thing that was done almost 20 years ago, and now it's supposedly cool. It's literally it invaded everything in my freaking timeline today, which is super annoying. And I disliked every last one of those shoes. Like I couldn't tell you one good thing about them. And Virgil literally has, I think, we may talk about them later, but he has a couple things going on with Nike, and I respect the hustle, respect everything he's done, but I'm like, bro, there has to be something more because I'm so sick of looking at these. Between the LV, the Off-White, again, respect the hustle. There's no disrespect to him, but I feel like we're just looking at the same things over and over again. It's like when a studio makes a movie, they feel like they've made their money. And we're going to keep making the same movie over and over again. And that's what's happening right now.
Fast 9 in theaters when?
Yeah. As you guys are listening to this, Fast 9's out. The same thing. 20 years in, we're like, cars. You got me.
Which sucks because I'm one of those suckers that actually will go see Fast 9, unfortunately.
You got me. But I have to give it. Look, if I'm going to see Fast 9, I can't buy Virgil stuff. I can't get caught twice.
So I have to agree with you. I do think that if there is a positive to look at in this, I'm kind of looking at it as if this is like testing. This is like pushing the envelope so far to see just how far people will go with this kind of aesthetic, right? And, to bring up one of the other shoes, right? He's got the Jordan 2 coming out. A couple colorways I've seen. Yeah. It's a crumbled midsole that's been like he's basically mimicking the crumbled midsole with a clear translucent midsole. And, neither of these, they all have the same elements, right? They have the, Virgil quotation marks, the laces, shoelaces, whatever, the air on the midsole, the kind of unfinished hemlines on the tongue. Yeah. Very much like the exaggerated stitching around the swooshes, like the exaggerated stitching around the tongue labels, all that kind of stuff. And I think that stuff is interesting. None of Virgil's Off-White stuff is for me as a consumer. Yeah. Like, it's just not. Honestly, like if I were to buy something that Virgil has done, it would be probably maybe some of the weird apparel that he's experimented with, because I think that stuff is kind of cool. And I could potentially see some of those like early, the Presto, the Air Max 97 that were kind of like the low key versions of that first 10. Yeah. But in general, like it's not something that I saw and was like, damn, I got to have that. Right. And I again, going back to like the Louis Vuitton stuff, I actually like the Louis Vuitton Virgil stuff better than most of the other stuff he's done. But it's just because it's 80s basketball to me, right? Yeah. It's like, it's cleaner, it's bulky, all these, it's all that style that I was like, okay, well, I like this when I was a kid and I still kind of like it now. And I could totally see wearing it and just beating them up, and they'd end up looking really cool aged to me. But that said, I think that like people have to be getting tired of this like simple approach, right? It's been dragging on for so long in a sense, and not in like time, because it's crazy to think that it's only been 4 years since he did his first collab with Nike. Yeah. Maybe 5 years if you count the working on those shoes. Yeah. But because it's been so much, it seems nonstop for those 4 years. It seems like we haven't gone up more than a month without a Virgil release of some kind that was like on the internet, filled up the social media timelines. And I think that is this is kind of an interesting test to that theory of like, when will people stop fucking with this, right? When will people stop caring about Virgil's name or an Off-White branding on, the Jordan 2 or an Air Force 1? Because at some point you're going to find it, right? It's just like those movies you're talking about. You don't know if it's Fast 9 or Fast 10 or Fast 22, but one of those movies is going to be the biggest tank of all time, and you're going to lose a ton of money, and then you're done. Like the brands, the big business doesn't want to mess with you. The other thing that I was actually talking to another friend about recently, I think that, Virgil has kind of become like a crutch for Nike, right? Yeah. Collaborations in a sense too, because if they do this Air Jordan 2 or this Air Force 1 and it doesn't do as well as they think, right? Because imagine these I mean, these Air Force Ones have got to cost $1,000, $2,000 if
I
they're
was
going to be
wondering
Louis
about
Vuitton
that.
prices, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, and you could look to the Supreme Louis Vuitton stuff a few years back to see like kind of what the prices would be.
Yeah.
And you're testing the limits of what like your sneaker consumer will spend, right? A sneaker consumer is not a luxury, you know, consumer, right? That's a completely different market. And yeah, Dior's are definitely like the gateway of like, okay, let's actually try this on a mainstream level, right? And I think that generally speaking, most people were disappointed in the Dior's, but they look good enough to where like, okay, I could see wearing them or wanting a pair, right?
Yeah.
But like the creative aspect of the Dior's was definitely lacking.
Oh, 100%.
And I think we're getting to that point with Virgil stuff that if, you know, like why else would you create a pre-crumbled midsole other than to just test to see if people are actually going to buy it, right? Like,
how far can I go?
Yeah, and like, why would you partner with, like, the Louis Vuitton Nike partnership doesn't make sense in very many worlds, but like, you might as well test it because you're, you know, kind of the man in both places. But like, if it sucks, if nobody buys any of this stuff, all Nike has to do is say, oh, Virgil is just not hot anymore, so we can move on. It's never Nike that's going to take an L on any of these collabs. And that's like, that's even scarier to think about like the stuff that he's doing, because I also think there's, you know, somewhat of a bubble with the secondary market with sneakers right now. It's not like a full, like everything's going to collapse, but I think we're kind of nearing that point, and we're kind of testing the limits of the secondary market and the resale market and all these things. Actually, crazy enough, I actually just like talked to the New York Times about it, which I don't know if it'll be out by the time this goes up, but I'll have a link to it in the description of wherever and on the social media channels when it does go public. But that conversation also got me thinking of like this safety net that Nike has, Jordan Brand looped in there, right? It kind of prevents them from doing cool shit on their own. And if they're always depending on Virgil or Travis or whomever to be that like energy, then they're never allowing their employees to push the envelope, you know, enough, in my opinion, too, because at the end of the day, like a Louis Vuitton, a limited run of Louis Vuitton shoes is great if Nike wants to try to sell to a luxury market, but the luxury market is never going to stick to Nike when they can go buy Coach and Burberry and, you know, Hermes and all these other brands that all those brands make some form of sportswear, right? So those customers don't need Nike stuff to wear apparel or shoes or whatever, right? Those people buy high-end goods, and yeah, they might buy an Off-White here and there. They might buy the Off-White actual brand stuff, but I think we're in this weird spot of like, Nike's kind of like, it almost seems like they don't know where they want to be because they're continuing to go down these paths of like, the freedom there is great for Virgil, but the results I don't think are things that people will look at and think this is iconic and classic and carries on like whatever that perceived tradition and you know, respect that both those brands carry, or you know, the shoes
they should like carry
Air Force One.
But I think that we're looking at that classic argument we always have, is that Nike's not selling to us, not me, you, Robbie, Rohit. They're not selling to us. They are selling to the masses. And at this point, when we look at the masses, it is the person trying to be the next big influencer. And to do that, you have to look cool. And they may not know anything about sneakers, which we run into a lot. But it's always a joke now that Jordan 1 and anything Off-White is a quote-unquote influencer shoe. Not speaking just a sneaker influence. It's just, you see somebody on TikTok, you see somebody on Instagram, they can be doing anything. It's someone who's a motivational speaker or someone who's into cars. They're wearing an Off-White sneaker or, you know, wearing a Jordan 1 because they know they can relate to more viewers that way, and it makes them quote-unquote cool. So that Louis Vuitton collection, you know, you're going to have those people in there. Like, I catch myself watching these videos sometimes, not proud of it, but they entertain me sometimes. But the guys at was it Cool Kicks, where they have like the people come in, it's like complete jackasses sometimes. But you have people like the FaZe Clan. I don't even know what they do, but they go in there spending thousands upon thousands of dollars on sneakers. I have literally no idea what these people do. I thought they play video games, but apparently they I don't know what they are. They're a bunch of dudes that live in a house together, and it's weird. But that's who kids are looking at. That's kid. You know, we have our set of viewers, but there's millions of people viewing each of them. It's like the ASAP or / Wu-Tang crew of social media is that group, and people are just looking at them. Kids want to see what they have on their feet, and that's what Nike knows. They can give two craps about what me and you want because they know they're going to sell these things out to the person who wants to flex like, oh, I have all this money from influencing. I got Louis Vuitton Nikes on, or I got the next great Off-White on. I have no idea what this Jordan 2 means. I didn't know it was a sneaker that was, made in Italy. I don't know any of that stuff, but I know that it costs X, Y, Z for me to buy, and I can show you that price tag, and you're going to flip out, and now I'm extra cool. So it sucks, and it's funny at the same time because those people are in that section. They're like, cool, we're going to spend all the money on that. We don't care what the shoe is. But then you have the people in the sneaker world who just want to be seen, which, again, this is not knocking anybody, but they just want to be seen. I've never seen so many Jordan 2s on my social media timeline ever. Only person I will give a shout out to who wears Jordan 2s on a daily is Sean from the Sneaker Podcast, one of our Canada boys. He had was it two Tuesdays? He's the only person I've seen consistently wearing 2s. And all these other people are breaking out 2s. Their souls cracking because they just had them sitting there just to say they had them. And I'm like, just because you put this picture out doesn't mean Nike's going to let you buy this shoe. And the fact you are trying to convince someone to let you buy this shoe or seed you this shoe, you've lost your mind. They're playing the game. They're making us play the game, I should say. And it's hilarious to watch because that's all my feed's been. It's been this Air Force One stuff, Jordan 2s. People are trying to convince everyone that they're wearing, which I hate the Jordan 2 high. I won't lie. It's not my favorite shoe whatsoever. Jordan 2 low is cool, but I had a million chance to buy them when they were sitting on shelves for $59.99. I passed on them because I'm like, oh, I'll get it next time. It wasn't important to me, and it's still not. And it's not going to be important to me now because of the Off-White, which I don't hate the shoe. I like the idea of what he did. I think if it would have been 4 years earlier, in the original 10 or maybe the second collection, I wouldn't be so fatigued with it because now I'm just like, all right. Then he has another 50 dunk collection coming out, which I don't even understand the logistics of it all. So I'm just, I feel like Nike's just catering to him. And I have to say Travis Scott at the same time because they lost such people like Kanye West who had that reach. Jerry Lorenzo didn't take their crap and was like, hey, you know what? I will complete what I'm doing with you guys and walked. So now they're trying to appease these people and they're just going to put out stuff and it's just working for them.
Well, so I think you bring up a good point. Like the FaZe Clan guys, I think that is kind of the future. I look at those guys and all these kind of hype houses, influencer groups,
I guess that's
whatever they're doing, right? And I think like if I was 20 years old and, playing video games enough to be good at it, that's exactly what I would do is like, just live with a bunch of friends, like gas each other up, grow everything, make a ton of money, basically have like just this kind of like chill, this is what I do life. You don't have like a regular job, so to speak. So I respect all of those people that do that because it's much harder work. We were just talking about YouTube before we started recording, and it's a ton of work to do that stuff. Whether you have a team of people or live in a house with people or are out here, raising kids and doing it, or, just like living life and trying to do it on top of your day job. Yeah. It's a lot of work to do that stuff. So for them to grow like that and be a part of those little cliques and communities, it's super dope to me. I don't know that, I probably wouldn't be going and spending thousands of dollars on shoes regardless, like even thinking about like, would I spend $300-$400 on any shoe, or would I go buy like 5 or 6 different pairs of shoes? It's always been about having interesting things rather than having whatever everyone else wants. And sometimes the interesting things are what everyone else wants. Right. Yeah. But at the same time, like, I have a couple pairs of 2s. I've had probably 4 or 5 throughout the years. I don't wear them very often, but I also don't wear Jordan 1s very often. I mean, I don't wear any Jordans lately, hardly at all, because I just don't feel like, like I said in, the Discord this week, thinking about how much the dollar amount is to me just makes me not want to wear them. Right.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not that type of person to be like, hey, this is a $3,000 shoe and I'm out here walking around in it.
Yeah.
Like
you're not flexing on anybody when you go out. You're just like, I just generally like the shoe.
Yeah. Like, I'd rather have you like see me wearing a weird pair of Chucks or a unique pair of Sauconys or a color that you've never seen on a New Balance, any of the Reebok stuff that's like, I mean, Reebok is even like getting almost too popular for me at this point with like the way that everything sells out.
Yeah.
And I know that it's just part of the way things work now, but like, I have just weird feelings about it. And, it's interesting because like the Discord is kind of like, I think like I probably got like half and half responses, right? Like a bunch of people on Instagram are like, why are you worried about what other people think? And it's like, I'm not like thinking about what other people think when I'm putting these shoes on necessarily. It's just my nature to not wear things that are overly flamboyant.
Yeah.
And the things that I like by nature have naturally become flamboyant in a sense, right? Like Tiffany Dunks, my favorite shoe of all time, owned a handful of pairs throughout the years, have a couple still now. Like girlfriend has a pair too, like, full on, like I'm committed to that shoe, right? But like, I just am not going to wear that shoe because once the new ones came out and the Nikki Diamond stuff at Complex Con kind of made it all crazy. It was like, I'm good with just leaving it on the shelf and admiring it. It's just how it is for me.
I understand that though, because back in 2011, beginning of 2012, I felt weird, even though it didn't have that same mystique as like a Tiffany Dunk. I felt weird wearing my Concord 11s out because it was such a thing to, oh, you got the Concord 11. Like people, I was in IKEA, people walk around like this at my feet. I'm like, all right, I literally sold them because like I just can't deal with this anymore. And it's just, and it's not like, ooh, I have this, you don't have it. I just felt, I'm the same way as you. It's like, I just kind of felt like weird. And like, I don't like that I have such a coveted thing on my feet that I don't want to give anybody the wrong idea. I don't want to give anybody, no one trying anything. It wasn't worth it to me. So like you, I'm not going to go buy the extravagant thing. I'd rather have more interesting things. And that's how I typically buy my sneakers. So now I definitely get that. And I just think that all these off-white items are going to be like the, ooh, look at me shoe, which again, everyone's different. I'm okay with that. It's just, I think it's invading just our space in the sense of just everything we see is like, we look at sneakers every day and that's our choice, but that's what we want to do. We're trying to build something off sneakers. And you guys have to understand, as us trying to build that from sneakers, it is tiring when we're looking through things and we see the same thing over and over again. Like we're digging through things to find the next thing. It's like, oh, this again. It's just frustrating. And for anyone who likes shoes, just seeing the same thing over and over again, I don't get it. Like I just don't get it.
Yeah, it's really interesting too, because like the Concords is a great example of like I have that same pair, probably have worn it, I don't know, 10 times in the 10 years that I've owned them. But also like on top of that, for me, especially now with so many people struggling and like the just the sheer number of homeless people in a lot of places in California, I just don't feel good about wearing something that's worth a bunch of money. And I have plenty of great shoes to wear. I don't need to wear a $3,000 shoe when I've got plenty of $50 shoes that I think are equally as awesome. Yeah. Right. And it's just an interesting kind of thought that's going through. And the reason why I kind of bring that up with all this Virgil stuff is because I wonder if anybody that's, super stoked to get this kind of stuff has those thoughts, right? Are they thinking about the perception of, or is it just, maybe I'm just in the wrong space and time to like understand that perception is everything for those people. But I just don't think that it is, right? I think that, yes, like sometimes it's fun. You get all hyped up, when I was working at StockX, we were buying all sorts of stuff that I was buying all sorts of stuff that I probably shouldn't have bought because I'm staring at it for 8 hours, 10 hours a day, Yeah. But it makes me wonder, like, if what the future is for those consumers, right? Because if you're everything is about hype and everything is about, the collaborations and all of these limited things, which it seems to be, right?
Yeah.
Then how do like those people progress through like being a part of this whole world in the future, right? Because we all know that, like, they make a Virgil Abloh Off-White Air Force One, the 10, so they can sell all the other Nike Air Force Ones that have a little bit of a detail that looks close to it that sits on the shelf and is made in mass quantities. But with so many people just attached to these, grails is not the right answer, but like just super hyped shoes, I don't really know that the future of that model is a long-term play, right? Because you're already seeing like, hey, people are going and looking at way more shoes. People are buying way more diverse shoes than they ever have, in my opinion. You just saw, like, I mean, New Balance is selling out today. Asics selling out today. Like, stuff not with collabs with, like, nothing against the people that drop stuff today, but like there was no like Ronnie Feig drop today. There was no ALD. It was like, okay, there's guys that are like, I would say like right there behind, and they're coming up too, which is great for those people. But like, how does Nike look at the landscape and say, let's just do 50 dunks with Virgil? Is it like just this gambling thing? We've got people addicted, they will chase all 50? Or is there actually some sort of logic to it behind that, but beyond that?
I've heard, no one knows if it's true. I think there's a lot of speculation. If they did it this way, I mean, that'd be kind of cool. But because they did it with the Kyries when they first dropped, the Kyrie 7 when it first dropped. Well, I think it's just kind of like you order something. Or, I'm sorry, again, the rumor is you order your size, you get what you get. And of course, you know how they do it. They build hype around something. It's literally like trading cards. It's like Pokemon cards. We'll use Pokemon cards, for example. Here's all these basic cards. Number 50 is the Charizard of the pack because it's the only black one of the group. Everything else is just a white shoe with a different lace color or different little, I don't know, the extra string across the top color. But you have that one at the end that's black and silver, and that's going to be the one that's going to be the $10,000 shoe. And I would love to say I'm exaggerating, but I can guarantee that shoe's going to be like $10,000 if it releases that way, or it's going to be like a friends and family exclusive, because that's the only way I can think of them releasing, unless they're doing every, like, once a week they're releasing 5 shoes for like 10 weeks. I don't know, but there's a lot of ways to do it. But I won't knock people who want them, because there are people just like us. We see things, we like them, we gravitate towards them. There's people who genuinely like them, who aren't looking for the, oh, look what I have on my feet. They genuinely like it, and they want it for themselves. So I hope those people can get them. It's just that the majority of the groups we see are the ones who are just trying to flex on, pick a platform,
Yeah. The blind box thing is really interesting, right? Because that's always existed with, obviously trading cards, like you said. I mean, a bunch of these collectible toys that I have came from blind boxes. Like that whole world of vinyl figures is a ton of that.
That's insane too.
But the thing is with sneakers, it's something you're supposed to wear, right? It's different than trading cards or
at this point,
display piece or and that's what makes me wonder, like, if you've got to open it to see what you've got, then you're taking away the StockX opportunity, right? Yep. Like, I mean, I don't think you can sell, I think of like, there was Daniel Arsham Adidas that were in sealed boxes. The Paranorman foam posits were in sealed boxes. The
Jordan 9
There's been a bunch
gloves. You can get the
Jordan 9 baseball gloves, right? There's been a bunch of those where, like, and it's funny too, the Jordan 9 baseball gloves, I actually want a pair of those because I'm a fan. Yeah. That's like, my first pair of Jordans. I'm a huge baseball fan. By the way, if you're a baseball fan and you don't know that the Giants are, 3 games ahead of the rest of the league right now. You should definitely know that. So I'm going to just tell you. But then, you know, like I was thinking about those Kyries too, because I got early access to those on Nike when they came out. And because I didn't know what I was going to get, I just didn't buy them.
That's a Kyrie. I don't. If it was off, not you, but with Off-White, people are going to take that chance. Kyrie, like, man, I can get a Kyrie sneaker anytime. But you slapped an Off-White or Virgil in there, they're like, I'm going to take whatever I can get.
Yeah, maybe so. That's a good point. I mean, I don't know that I would. I mean, no. the thing about it is, like, I'm going to circle this back to, like, I actually think that Nike and Virgil are like testing everything to see just how far people will go, right?
Yeah, they are.
Because 50 pairs of a shoe, 50 different colorways of a shoe, and you don't know which one you're going to get. If there's anything that's going to just get people pissed off and say, fuck it, I'm out, and I don't want any more Virgil stuff, it's going to be that. Or it's going to be a clear translucent crumbled midsole Jordan 2. All these things that, like, you know, the average consumer, the average sneakerhead is just like, what the hell?
Oh, yeah. If I ended up getting early access to that Off-White Dunk, I won't lie, I would buy it, and out of pure, like, disdain, I would probably sell it immediately so I can fund some other things for the channel and for, like, what we do, because that's literally just a meal ticket to free money. And I'm not like the person say, oh, I'm going to buy them up to resale, but I know, like, when you just know something is going to just pop, and it's like, if you're going to just dangle a carrot in front of me like I'm an idiot, I'm going to make you look like an idiot.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing, like, there's no end to this, right? Because that's the business model now, is like, oh, we sell because people will just buy it and resell it, even if they can't, you know. I mean, you could always I don't know, you could probably return it to Nike too, but who's going to do that? Yeah,
it's like, I can make more money. Or they're literally just playing into the game, and that's when people say, "Oh, Nike's trying to stop resellers." They don't care. You're gonna buy it anyway because you're gonna buy it and then sell to somebody else who's gonna want to buy it there, and you're just kind of perpetuating the whole, you know, seller cycle. So they're no one cares.
Yeah, man. I feel like incredibly old with all of this stuff coming out, in a sense, because I'm just like, this is just not for me anymore. But at the same time, I'm also just thinking, like, there's plenty of stuff in sneakers. There always has been plenty of stuff in sneakers that was not for me. And I'm cool to just stay in my lane and watch all that stuff pass by.
Right. I just want to see how it happens, because I feel like this is going to be just a cluster, because something's going to go wrong. I don't know what's going to happen. They're going to end up saying, oh, we're actually only releasing one variation. The rest are just friends and family, or the rest are just samples. And take everybody. Something's going to happen. And, I mean, Nike's never going to lose. Like you said, no matter what, Nike's not going to lose. But, I don't know, man. We'll see. I'm really interested, because there's no release date on any of those items, right?
I haven't seen anything on any of them yet. Yeah. And I think it's really interesting, too, because I feel like I feel weird posting it to the Sneaker History channel, or the Sneaker History Instagram, because I know most of the people that are following the account don't care about that stuff. But it is always a talking point. Oh, yeah. And I'm genuinely curious about, like, how people respond to it. Especially because I think as you get older, you are just more selective, right? Yeah. Whether it's you've got, you know, mortgage or bills or kids or college or whatever it is, right? You just start to be more selective about what you purchase. Yep. And I was actually kind of surprised, because there was a couple of people that were like, yeah, I actually like these. So, I don't know, like,
there's always going to be an audience.
I'm really kind of, I think that I think that's the thing that I want to kind of end on, is like, I don't want to buy or wear any Virgil stuff or Off-White stuff. Like I said, maybe the 97s or the Prestos from the first release, but the rest of it I have no interest in, but I love it because it's so polarizing. Yeah. It gets people so riled up, and to be somebody that just has the ability to do that all the time in this day and age just means that you can be successful, because that's what the internet does, right? The more people talk about it, good or bad, the more successful your product is, the more successful your brand is, the more successful everything you do becomes. And I feel like he's just like sitting there printing money at this point, you know?
100%. He's like, let's see, a crumpled sole Jordan 2 and 49 kind of beige and gray dunks. Got it. Print the check, please. And it's like, what? How? Why do I work so hard to be creative when this happens? But I can't be mad at him. If people are going to continue to buy it, I would do the same thing. It's like, all right, cool. Y'all silly enough to keep buying it. I'm going to keep making them for you.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, like I say, some Off-White stuff was cool. Like I always liked the Prestos. I thought were cool. The Jordan 1s, you know, they are what they are. I heard the materials kind of sucked on them. But no, they were a decent looking shoe, and I mean, impossible to get. But I see some of them as pieces we'll talk about in the future, but a lot of them, I mean, there were a lot of misses there. Like you had the Vapor Streets or Vapor Waffles. No one talks about them, but I think you can buy them for under $200 for resale or less than retail, because there were some misses in there. But he has so many hits that they kind of erase the faults.
Yep. So I'll toss this question to you, but also to everybody that's listening and watching. Do new releases from somebody like Virgil like this that are, you know, it seems to be that there are more people that are against this new stuff than prior releases. Mm-hmm. Will that ever affect the opinions of people of opinion? Will that ever affect the opinions of the early Virgil releases? Like, will it change your opinion on the early Virgil stuff if he were to continue to make these crazy colored Air Force Ones with Louis Vuitton?
No, I think that original 10 collection is kind of grandfathered in, kind of locked into like its place in history. It's almost like, I guess I use this example since there's a Jordan in the collection. It's like no one ever goes back to look at the Washington Wizard time with Michael Jordan. We also get the Chicago time. And I think that's what this is going to be. The 10 is going to be the Chicago time. Everything else that doesn't hit is going to be Washington Wizard, and we kind of just glaze over it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I kind of feel the same way. It's an interesting kind of thought to give it that credibility, but I do think that it was definitely a game changer when it first came out. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing this release though, and kind of watching to see what happens, just as someone who's just curious and interested in this whole sneaker thing. So, but that pretty much wraps the episode. Make sure that you're following and subscribing to Mike on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribing to us on the YouTube channel for Sneaker History. We've been cranking out a lot more content, some newer content to try to keep you guys entertained and give you something to distract you throughout your day. So hopefully you enjoy it. Hopefully you're enjoying the podcast. As we said before, if you can leave us a review, that would be super dope. We'd appreciate it. It'll help us grow the audience here. And if you're not a member of the Patreon/Discord, the community is a great place to connect with people that just want to enjoy sneakers without the negativity that seems to be floating around out there. So that's it for me. Mike, let them know how they can find you.
Yeah, man. You find me on Instagram and Twitter at MadWatcher789, of course, Sneaker History, and YouTube would be at Mike Guillory.
Right on. You can follow me at Nick Engvall on all the platforms. More importantly, at Sneaker History, and we will catch you on the next episode. Peace.
See you.